Today on Voices for Change, celebrating Asian culture and stories on the silver screen.
We want to offer a space for our communities to just kind of come together to experience this joy.
Plus, diving into Jewish texts to inspire creativity and artistic expression.
Creating openings and possibilities where people get more curiosity of what's really underneath Jewish culture.
And raising awareness about mental health, the pro baseball player turned advocate after surviving a suicide attempt.
It's more probable that I shouldn't be here, so the fact that I'm still here is just another sign that I'm supposed to be here and I'm supposed to be doing something with my life.
Welcome to Voices for Change. I'm Greg Lee. The goal of this show is to create a space to listen, learn, and share conversations about diversity and highlight those working for a more inclusive tomorrow. Today, we begin with a celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a chance to honor and recognize a rich tapestry of cultures. The White House marking the month with a forum on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Musicians, entertainers, elected officials, and trailblazers joining together for a community-wide program in D.C. Also in attendance, the nation's first Asian American and woman vice president. She shared the impact of her mother, who came to the U.S. from India.
She had a unique ability to, I think, really infuse in us a sense of pride and a sense of understanding that we should not let anyone define our identity. My mother would often say, you don't let people tell you who you are, you tell them who you are.
Here in the Bay Area, the annual Caam Fest just wrapped up after 10 days of sharing the stories and creativity of Asian Americans. Put on by the Center for Asian American Media, this year's call to gather focused on restoring bonds and lifting each other up through music, ideas, and film.
Caam Fest 2023 just wrapped up, and it was the first time fully in person since 2019. How good did that feel, and how did this go?
It felt amazing. Maybe a little bit tiring for our staff, but it was just really amazing for the community. And the overall response has just been so incredible. We've seen people coming out who we haven't seen in many years. You know, we've seen, especially from community members, audience members, even friends that I haven't seen in a while, and folks who said that they have gone to Caam Fest for many, many years pre-pandemic and just, haven't been able to come out. And so the response has been amazing.
One of the phrases that stood out to me is, we are reliant on each other to transform. We are coming for joy. Explain how this space and those stories accomplish that.
A huge inspiration for us was Priya Parker. Her book, The Art of Gathering, really talks about, injecting intention behind our gatherings. I mean, you can bring people together, but if there is no intention, then people are still going to feel disconnected and lost. And for us, what does it mean to bring people together after 3+ years of isolation? What does it mean to come for our joy? We are in a space where we're acknowledging that the pandemic has brought so much grief to our communities, and we need each other to heal. And in order to heal, or when we do heal, it makes space for us to invite and bring in more joy into our lives.
When we talk about the big screen, we're seeing Asian Americans more, and not just in the tropes that we may be used to, but as emotional and complex characters. How important is it that we continue to see that and that Hollywood sees us as we exist?
It is so important. I mean, we're talking about raising the next generation of youth. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't have a TV series like American Born Chinese that is going to premiere on Disney Plus. And we were also able to screened the first 2 episodes in advance at our festival, and it was a packed house. There were so many parents and children, and for me to see that's just so powerful because these kids are going to grow up seeing all these different types of representation of who they can be, and they're just who they envision Asian Americans are is going to be so much more expansive. A predominantly Asian American creative team cast, also predominantly female and non-binary as well. And to see this kind of film represented on the mainstream is also really powerful because that film is, about 4 friends going on this wild adventure together, and they experience all different types of, chaos. And it's also a very sexual film too. All these friends coming into their power as women and non-binary folks, and you don't really see a lot of Asian American sexuality represented in this way, or in a way that is that's driven by Asian Americans, told by Asian Americans. And so I think that perspective is really important. I think what we've seen in the past has been stereotyped, has been really distilled down in a way that isn't nuanced or complex. And so Joyride is powerful because it is so insistent on us claiming our sexuality and our joy, and also an insistence that our lives are messy, and it's okay for us to show that and reflect that. And so many of our films that we have, really shows those complex layers.
What better way to gather than over a couple of brews? A new brewery in Oakland is serving up beers with unique Asian-inspired flavors. Through this business and unique take on the brewing industry, the owner hopes to share his Korean heritage with the community. Each time Youngwon Lee pours a beer, he's sharing a piece of who he is.
It's really important for us to really now be truly authentic to our culture and what we represent, and then dissolve that into the beer that we make. This is our rice kolsch.
For more than 15 years, Lee's worked in the alcoholic beverage industry. A few years ago, delving into craft beer.
When I started working in the beer industry in the States, I noticed that I was the only Asian person pouring beer at beer festival. And I noticed that over and over. When I had the opportunity to start my own, I said, hey, I'm going to go all Asian and I'll go all out with that. Whether it's packaging, brand name, the design, as well as the ingredients that we use to make the beer. Dokkae beer was born. The unique flavors, the logo, even the name, an embodiment of Lee's Korean heritage. Korean mythical creature called Dokkae that likes to eat, hang out with people, drink. They usually hide in the object during the daytime, come out at night to hang out.
Lee and his team have crafted Asian-inspired beers like the Kimchi Sour with culture from kimchi with chili and ginger, the Bamboo Pilsner made with bamboo tea leaves, and soon one made with lemongrass and Szechuan pepper.
A lot more potential as a beer to have more flavors. And I wanted to use especially the Asian cuisine, Asian flavors introduced through the beer, and something that could be unique on its own.
Realizing the potential hasn't always been easy. Dokkae Beer opened its San Francisco pop-up in February 2020, a month before the COVID shutdown.
We were pretty well received, but COVID happened, so we had to shut down the taproom business. And I started just driving around the Bay Area 200 to 300 miles a day, 12 hours a day, just doing door-to-door delivery service.
Now, they're in more than 400 retailers across the state and looking for investors. And now, its first brick-and-mortar location in Oakland's Jack London Square after acquiring Federation Brewing and its space.
And we finally have a place where we could get more even creative with the flavors that we make, but also have consumers be available to visit us.
This small team continues to serve Federation brews and from Black-owned brewery Hella Coastal. The partnership raising a glass to equity, diversity, and inclusion to an industry that's predominantly white.
Essentially, we're the first Korean-owned brewery in Oakland, their first Black-owned brewery in Oakland. I feel like us together, we could really represent the diversity and bring more culture and flavors to the beer industry.
During this AAPI Heritage Month, Lee brought another piece of Korean culture to the streets of Oakland, Hundreds of people came to Jack London Square for a festival celebrating chicken and beer.
In Korea, we have a big event called Chimek Festival, and it stands for Chi for chicken, and Mek is Mekju, which is beer in Korean. So essentially, it's a chicken and beer festival, and I wanted to bring that festival culture to the Oakland.
Lee says it's not easy to be first or in the minority, but says authenticity and representation are well worth it.
Speak to yourself, be who you are, and represent all the way. And I think that's how you become, sort of a third culture of who we are, but also be unique in the industry.
Giving keys to the kingdom to culture makers, allowing them to digest Jewish culture, and when I say Jewish culture, like the deep stuff.
Still to come, bringing Jewish culture to spur creativity to art, dance, and conversation. Plus,
Firsthand, I've realized that it's way stronger than any physical thing that I've ever done to address these things head on.
the remarkable story of Drew Robinson, the Giants' mental health consultant, sharing his message about strength. The month of May also marks Jewish American Heritage Month. In the East Bay, an organization that's part of an international collective spurring art, conversation, and community. Laba Bay welcomes artists to study Judaism's rich texts to spark new thought and creative work. I spoke to artistic director Alyssa Strauss.
The idea behind Laba is a laboratory for Jewish culture using Jewish texts to inspire art and conversation. Explain to me what that means to you.
Yeah, so, the big mission of Laba, which I got involved with 14 years ago when I got invited to be a Laba Fellow, is that in the Jewish culture, we have this beautiful tradition of texts and writing and thinking that goes back thousands of years. But most not terribly observant Jews never have access to that. So it's this great source of creativity, philosophy, and thought. And yet you only kind of get a chance to learn it if you're like very committed or very religious. So the big thing of Laba is give the keys to the kingdom, access to these libraries of this treasure trove of beautiful texts to culture makers and allow them to study these texts in a completely open-minded setting. Some might be very religious. Some might have never stepped a foot in a synagogue a day in their life. It doesn't matter in Laba. It's an open-minded setting. We come together, we study these texts, and then the culture makers are a part of the program, make new work in response to the text.
Can you describe the community that can build?
It's a group of people who haven't met each other before, but it just immediately creates a sense of intimacy because you're just digging into yourself as a person and how the world should work together. So through that process, again, we bring together. You don't even have to be Jewish at all to apply to Laba. It's just if you want to come and study with us and learn these texts and create work in the response, you're welcome to join.
Can you speak to some of the remarkable works of creativity that have come out of this in all expressions, art, dance, etc.?
The idea is that the text study is supposed to color their process. The work that comes out of Laba doesn't have to be identifiably Jewish. It's really just fertilizing culture makers with these beautiful tools we have, which is ancient text. So yeah, we've had some wonderful, we have a filmmaker from last year named Sarah Gilman, who's working on this amazing film about what it means to belong in a community, growing up in a Jewish family where they didn't see themselves as part of the community, and later in life, her reckoning with her desire to become part of a community. David Israel Katz, who took one of the central prayers that we do in the Shabbat. Every week at Shabbat, we say a prayer called the Aleinu prayer, and it's really kind of about a hope for the future, but it also has some darker elements and some messianic stuff that I think most kind of casual liberal Jews like myself ignore, and we say it, and the song is pretty, and we carry on and go have lunch downstairs afterwards. But he did his own translation of this piece of liturgy, and he created this kind of altar where the font gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So you have to eventually get on your knees to read the end of it. And it's just kind of this really powerful experience, like pulling you into what this liturgy is saying and not saying and your response to it. Good art doesn't have a mission. It's not a top-down learning experience. It's an opening, creating possibilities. So through their art, they bring all sorts of audiences, Jewish and not, kind of into their experience of these texts and their experience of ideas, and hopefully both, in that kind of sideways way that art does this, educating about what these texts have to share with us. And also, I hope even more than educating, creating openings and possibilities where people get more curiosity of what's really underneath Jewish culture beyond, again, the bagels and the matzo ball soup.
A note to our viewers here. The next story has to do with suicide and issues of mental health. If you or someone you know is in need of support, you can call or text the crisis helpline right here on your screen. Call or text 988. Help is available 24/7. Former Major League Baseball player Drew Robinson knows he's here for a reason. In 2020, the Giants outfielder tried to commit suicide. He survived. Drew made it his mission to share his story and raise mental health awareness for those dealing with self-doubt and depression like he did. Remarkably, he came back to baseball with the Giants' AAA affiliate, the Sacramento River Caps. In 2021, Robinson retired as a player and joined the Giants front office as a mental health advocate. During this Mental Health Awareness Month, he shared with me the work he's doing to break down barriers to end stigmas.
You're coming up on your 2-year anniversary of being in this role with the Giants. What has that 2 years been like, and how fulfilling has this been?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely something I'm incredibly grateful for. It's been a learning process, and like I said, I'm having fun with it. It's been interesting because a part of me never thought that I'd be on this side of baseball. I thought I would definitely just be a player and then move on with my life. But like I said, things work out, and things don't always go as planned, which is okay. And like I said, I'm loving the role and really grateful to be able to be doing it for the Giants.
Yeah. Drew, obviously there's so much to your story and it's very inspirational, but there are phrases that always stand out to me reading about it. And those are, I'm meant to be alive. I'm here for a reason. How important is it for you to share that message with others?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does a lot of things. It helps me personally. It helps me remind me of a purpose that's bigger than me. And then also, I think it's something and a message that a lot of people can buy into. I think, we all know life gets hard sometimes, and we might not feel like we're as important as we are, but we're all meant to be alive. We're all meant to be doing what we're doing. And it's all part of the process. And like I said, I feel like it just kind of reminds me personally that sometimes these things that may be uncomfortable or not so pretty do help me in the long run. And it's just another sign that I'm supposed to be here. And with my specific story, it's very likely it was more probable that I shouldn't be here. So the fact that I'm still here is just another sign that I'm supposed to be here and I'm supposed to be doing something with my life.
Drew, you've long talked about the stigmas behind mental health. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. So what is the message you want to get out to people about combating those stigmas and seeking help and asking for help when you need it?
Yeah, I think, like you said, combating the stigmas of just letting the idea that mental health, maybe struggles, conflict, disorders, they're not the entire definition of a person, and it doesn't mean that they're any less meaningful, they're less worthy. And it really means that they are stronger than they realize. Like I said, I know firsthand, especially these last 3 years, committing my life to my own self-care and to my own process, and realizing it takes way more strength to address some of these things that we're not so proud of ourselves, heal some things that we had no responsibility for that affect us. And like I said, it's so much stronger than we give credit for. And if we're dealing with those things and they get to a pretty extreme level and we're still showing up in our social circles, at work, and doing normal things with all that going on in the background, it's so much more of a sign of strength that you're able to do those things with all that going on. And then again, the own addressing part, it takes some serious courage to face your demons head on. So just the stigma of it's that you're some kind of crazy or weaker or less capable. It's so irrelevant and so not true. So like I said, just trying to combat that stigma with that idea. I just feel like it's so worth it because, like I said, firsthand, I've realized that it's way stronger than any physical thing that I've ever done to address these things head on.
As we start to come out of the pandemic and people start to evaluate where they are at in their lives after a really difficult time, what would be your encouragement to them to self-assess?
I think it exploited a lot of the things that might be in that background that is easy to kind of forget about when we're busy and doing things. So I think it just showed that there is things that, are maybe hindering our peace or affecting our profession or our work in a negative way and taking up some headspace that otherwise could be freed up if we process these things. So I just think it was a really tough time to be forced into that, but it also showed that these things do weigh on us, and it brought those things to the forefront, and it kind of forced us to, take these things more seriously.
Our thanks to Drew for sharing his story and important message. Again, if you or someone you know is in need of support, you can call or text the crisis helpline right there on your screen. Call or text 988. Help is available.
Looking forward to being able to see, these young female student athletes, conquer and take over more roles in the sports industry.
Coming up, dozens of Bay Area high school girls take over Levi Stadium. The lessons they learn that go far beyond football. San Francisco City Hall was lit up in the colors of the rainbow in honor of Harvey Milk Day. The day is celebrated each year to mark the birth of the pioneer who fought for equality. Milk won a seat on San Francisco's Board of Supervisors in 1977. He was one of the first openly gay elected officials in the United States. He was killed at City Hall 1 year later along with Mayor George Moscone. His legacy lives on, especially in San Francisco and the LGBTQ community. Warrior star Steph Curry honored for his work off the court. Curry was named the winner of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion Award. The NBA made the announcement saying Curry prioritized uplifting communities by fostering equity and creating access to opportunity. Curry decided to donate his $100,000 prize money to the University of San Francisco Institute for Nonviolence and Social Justice. The San Francisco 49ers welcomed more than 90 Bay Area high school girls to Levi Stadium this month. The annual Think Gold conference aims to encourage these young women to maximize their full potential in sports, academics, and in the community. I spoke to Ryan Dillard, senior coordinator for 49ers Prep.
This annual event, Think Gold, just wrapped up. This partnership with the Bay Area Women's Sports Initiative, how special is this program?
This is the 14th year that we've actually hosted this conference. And over the course of the time, we estimate that we've probably impacted over 700 young female student athletes within the Bay Area. So one of our main goals is empowering them in their academics, their athletics, and living healthy lifestyles. And then Bossy has played a tremendous role in that.
These young women get to see the world-class facilities down in Santa Clara. But as you said, there's more to this than just sports. This is about teaching them in every facet of their life. How important is it to show them every part of the Niners organization?
I think it's very important. We hosted over 90 female student athletes this past Friday, and over the course of the day, they were able to learn from industry leaders and also 49ers front office staff in subjects like nutrition, strength and conditioning, yoga, and also sports business. So I think them being able to come into the program with an idea of, they come into a program with an idea of what sports looks like, but then after speaking with some of our staff, they come in with a totally different mindset, and they realize that anything is possible, right? This may expose them to, something new, a new role, like PR, sports marketing or engagement that they may have never thought of, but they may have a passion for. So it's very empowering for them to see the options that they have before them.
There is a true effort across sport, including in the NFL, about diversity and diversity for women as well, to get more women involved in sport. The Niners are obviously on the front line of that. So how important is it to play some role in encouraging women to pursue careers in the sports industry?
I think it's very important. One, it's valuable for them to see what options are available to them. Actually we have, one of our game day associates, her name is Jordan. She came to Think Gold when she was a high school student athlete. And so she came to this event, and now she is actually a coach, and she, works for the organization. So it's cool to see how this program has inspired her to get back to the next generation and inspire them to, work in sports. And you can just see it's clearly having an impact on people's lives.
That's our show for this month. Thank you for joining us for these important conversations. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.